Hey everyone, and welcome to a little weekly segment that I do here on social media about things about the internet that I think everyone should care about. And one of the things that kind of came up in one of my previous broadcasts the other week was the use of RSS feeds. And so I was talking to James here, who's going to be my guest today and talk a little bit more about some of the ways he uses RSS feeds, which are different than the way I use them. I want to talk a little bit about this excellent technology and how you can use it, whether you own a website or not, to learn things on the internet and to follow the things that you want to follow. So James, thanks for being with me.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. So just a little background on what an RSS feed is. Do you want me to kind of show people what that is, or do you have a better explanation that you've heard than the standard one that I've heard?
My take on it is it's just a feed of news or content. You take a website's content and you put it into a little chunk of code that makes it transferable. Most people know it from newsreaders, which is one of the original technologies, and what most people used a lot of RSS feeds was for reading news. You could add it to your Outlook. Google had a news reader for a long time before they started Google News. That was kind of their news product. As a reader, you just added all your sources. A lot of websites had an RSS feed, especially if it was powered by WordPress, which sort of generated one by default. So, like most technology, it gets changed and used in different ways. It's not as prominent as it used to be, but it's still out there. People still using it. It's one of those little pieces of technology that never quite goes away. It always manages to hang around and be useful in some way.
Yeah, I saw that really good article when I was kind of first starting to do this and trying to get my head around this stuff. And it was like, RSS feeds explain the Oprah way. I'll see if I can find it and put the link in the description of this video. But just so that people understand what this is, if your website typically runs off of a database, it doesn't have for you to be able to make an RSS feed or what's called a burn an RSS feed. But I just want to show you kind of what one looks like so that you understand what I'm talking about here. So if we go to my website, for example, so my website /feed, now the link to your RSS feed might be a little bit different. It might be, feed.html, or it might be RSS the actual link doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you what this looks like. Now, as you see, this is a super boring version of my website because there's nothing in it except the information that you absolutely need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit here because I meant to do that. But if you look closely, you'll see that there's this little bracket thing and it says item, and then it has basically the latest blogs I posted. So for example, here is an RSS, so the title of this article is 5 reasons you'll love RSS feeds. There it is. It's in this particular blog category. Here is the description of it. And so what happens is, all of these items, and you see that it links, and then it's like, what is the link? So here is the link back to where the rest of the article lives on my website. Now, as you see, my particular what's called RSS feed has excerpts. So it just has a little bit. It doesn't have the whole article, but some RSS feeds do show the entire content in terms of the text and all that. Now, as a regular person, so what happens is every time I update my website, it creates an item in my feed. And obviously the newest items are on the top and the other stuff gets pushed down. And so the question is so rather than going to my website every single day and thinking, oh, has Nicole posted anything new? You could do what's called subscribe to this and basically be notified every time that I post something new automatically.
Yep.
So you don't want to look at this. This is super boring to look at. So you want to use something called a feed reader if you want to follow something like this. So an example of one of these is Feedly, right? And what I went ahead and did is I just searched for a website, and there I am right here. And it shows the latest post. And then what I can do is click follow. Now I'm already following. I don't know why I follow my own website. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to see how it is. But it gives you an idea. There's a bit of a description, and it's the latest kind of 3 articles here. And then it says that I post about 1 article per week. And what I can do is I can just put this in a category And what category did I put it in? Oh, I put it in business and marketing in my own section. So every time there's a new blog post, if I go to breaking even, I guess the last time I opened this was a while back, you see it says there's 5 new articles. So it has a really tiny number 5 here. So what I can do is I can kind of see what is going on my website without having to go to my website. And as you see, I can follow a lot of other websites like that too. So that is essentially an RSS feed, basically allows you to share information on your site with people who want to follow it. It also lets you follow other websites and kind of get it all in one spot so that you don't have to go to each individual website and look at stuff. So would you say that's a fair explanation of RSS feeds?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's good in depth. That's the main reason people use it really is newsreader. You can follow a website without actually having to go directly to the website a lot of the time.
Right. And within the reader, there's things like, let's say I saw an article that I wanted to read, but I didn't have time to read it. So what I can do is I can bookmark it and kind of save it for later. But if I go to a website and I see, like, I read all the stuff and I'm like, okay, I'm caught up, I can just click, okay, I've read everything, and it will, kind of archive all that content so that,
Feedly actually has a nice feature where it'll send it to your Pocket account for reading later.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
I love Pocket.
Yeah, it's great. So you can send it to your Pocket account. Feedly is great. I use it for my social media. They have some great features. So I can
do you want to show us? Because so full disclosure, I am a cheap person and I got grandfathered into the Feedly where I have, as you see, I have multiple categories. The free version of Feedly lets you have kind of sort of 3 folders that you can put stuff in. But James has like the fancier version and he does fancier things with it with social media. Do you want to like demo that, or do you just want to show people kind of
I don't have it set up on my computer
right
now, but I can kind of guide you through it.
Absolutely.
I use it for social media. And on the main Feedly, like you bring up your Feedly.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So normally I just use Feedly for like myself, and I might kind of bookmark some content for clients and stuff. And each of our active clients kind of has a little, I have it by region, but I also have it by some of our client names too. But okay,
right there, if you look at Train Leo, is one of their paid features.
Who's Leo? I haven't met Leo yet.
Leo is their machine learning bot.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like how they all have human names. Alexa and Leo.
Right, where's Todd? We need Todd, the AI, is sort of there. But yeah, I use this because one of the other paid features is boards. So you can save items from your feed to your board and then train Leo to find better content for you. So Leo will go out there, he looks at the things you save, and he'll go back to your feeds and weed out things that don't match. Like I used to get a lot of these global reports, that they would want to sell you global report. They can weed out press release sites like prnewswire.com.
Yeah.
Or you could use those too. I just want press releases. If you're looking for content, news stories to follow up, they're like, oh, this is good. I'm going to contact this company to write a story about it for my blog.
Right.
Or if you don't want these news press releases in your feed, you can clear that out by saving them to the board. Leo learns from all this stuff, and he kind of sorts and curates for you.
Oh, that's fun.
And then I think with the paid version, you also get the ability to share directly to your social media.
Oh, nice. So if you see like a useful article, you can just automatically share that. Can you add like a status update with it or something, or does it just share the article?
I think you just share it straight to the article.
That's fine. Perfect for Facebook stuff.
Facebook stuff. If you use a lot, like if you use a service like Social Pilot or Bucker, you can build up a whole queue. You can feed 10 things directly from Feedly into your social media app, and just kind of like stack up your content for the week. Your little 10 relevant articles. Stack them up. That's what I do. Like Monday morning while I'm having coffee, stack up my social media queue directly through Feedly, and then you're kind of good. You've got your sort of trickle of content for a week or so.
That's awesome. And I know that I've used RSS feeds for um, sending, so people subscribe to blog updates. So if you're on Breaking Even and you subscribe to blog updates, you'll notice that that is an automated thing that comes with an RSS feed. And what I can do is I can set that RSS feed to send at a certain time of day. And I can set it to send, if I only wanted to send on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., it'll check Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And if there's anything new, it'll pull it into a template and it'll send it. I had a friend who was running a community newspaper, and he was waking up every morning, drinking his coffee, and he was manually linking to all of the links on his WordPress site. And I said, let's set you up with this. And so we just made it. And, he's like, I don't know, because sometimes a lot would have happened and sometimes not a lot would have happened, but he'd spend the first half hour of every day kind of manually linking to everything new that happened on his website, and send it out to email subscribers. But that was a nice kind of way for him to do that without, but yes, the social media sharing is great because most of us don't have enough. I don't know about you, but in my business, not a lot. I don't have a lot of different news that's happening all the time.
Yeah. And creating good quality content is pretty labor intensive. It takes, like, you're creating your own original content, videos, written material. Could take a while.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a solo, entrepreneur, finding things relevant to your industry, your audience and stuff, and sharing it a couple of times a week keeps them engaged while you work on that video for the week or that blog post for the week, and just keeps things warm on your social media, because it can go cold. Facebook you can get dinged sometimes.
Yeah,
there's a rhythm to it. If you go too long, people fall off,
right,
and you fall out of their feed.
And the kind of so we have social media, we have email newsletters, and then we just have reading stuff. But we also can use RSS feeds on websites, which are, and what did you call them? Like RSS aggregators. And I found an example of one, I think, because before James and I started, I was like, so sometimes what super spammy sites do is they take a lot of RSS content and display it and then put a bunch of ads. Yeah. I think we've all been to that website where we're like, okay, this is just a lot of links and some ads. But I did want to link to, I think, a relatively legitimate example, which would be a newspaper website. So for example, this is a Maine newspaper, and what they have is they have it by region. So if I clicked, this particular, Hancock County, what you'll notice is in the site, so this particular page is aggregating stuff related to Hancock County, so that if I was, so what it's doing is it's pulling in stuff from all over the website that it's, that is tagged Hancock County or whatever, and it's aggregating it. And it could also, and I don't know if it's doing this, it used to pull in stuff from other websites. So maybe somebody, maybe someone blogged about something that happened in Hancock County, and it would appear on this type of page. So if you have, if you have an industry that you follow or a region you follow, and you want to have something on your website that kind of has more recent information, maybe, then you could update yourself. You could use RSS feeds to do.
There's another thing that just popped in my head about RSS feeds, and kind of like Feedly and stuff, is competition research and following your competition. So people would put together things where in Feedly, I feel like Feedly should pay me for promoting them, but has an option when you upgrade a little bit where you can do an internal newsletter with links for competition, like, hey, here's 5 things going on, here's what's going on in our industry or what our competitors are doing. And you can set up a small newsletter, they call it a team newsletter. So you could save links to that and send it out to people. But competition research and following your competitors is a use for RSS, but you can follow their websites, you can follow keywords about your competitors to see what's going on, and hear about it as soon as it hits the interwebs.
Right. And you probably, if you've ever used Google Alerts, so I mean, I have a Google Alert set up for my name and my business name. If you probably, when you go sign up for them, they always give you the option of getting them via email or getting them by RSS feed. And sometimes when you start getting a lot of them, And the default thing is get them by email and get only the best ones. But if you wanted to make sure you got all of them and you didn't want it clogging up your inbox, it's like just a nice place to put those kind of things.
It's the little RSS is the little technology that could. It keeps trucking along. It's been around since before Google and before, it was like one of those original technologies, and it just keeps plugging along and finding little ways to be useful.
Yep.
It could all be RSS feed. It would just
Yeah, and RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. And I hope, we talked a little bit about some of the uses of it, whether you're, like I said, just a regular person who reads stuff on the internet, or whether you're a business owner that feels like you need to like keep up with the content train, whether it's on social media or whatever. There's definitely some really cool stuff that you can do if you have a feed. And you can also, customize, what that looks like a little bit. So on that news website I showed you, it was showing links, but you can also make it so it pulls in like an image, so that it pulls in the first sentence. Like you have a lot of flexibility. It's not, I think I showed you the really ugly version, like at the beginning.
Just the code.
Yeah, exactly. But it has all that information is just stuff that could be displayed, and it could be displayed in pretty much any order and pretty much any layout that you would want. So,
it's based on XML language, just nested brackets, and you can customize a little bit. There are a couple of variations. There's RSS, and there's RSS2 and Atom feeds, which are the souped up version of RSS.
Okay, I was wondered. Yeah, because in the RSS there was always be an atom, and I was like, what is that? An atom, like not like Adam like a guy, but ATOM. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the molecule.
Yeah, like the molecule. Thank you.
It's a dirty thing my kids know about, but I don't.
Yeah. So
that was kind of like an upgrade to it, and it added a few more media. There's media RSS. That's one thing I totally forgot about. Like if you want to feed your stuff into iTunes, that's how you get it in there once you sign up, is the media RSS. So that's a use for it. If you want to get your newspaper or your content into Google News, they used to have a special feed for it, and they kind of have a special format of the RSS feed that you can use and you submit to them to help catalog, like, this is what I want submitted for consideration in your Google News feed.
Yeah, so there's a lot of applications in terms of if you want to get information out there, it's just about formatting it in a way that these, RSS, whether it's an RSS aggregator, an RSS feed reader, or some other piece of technology that uses RSS can read it and display it or search it or, work with it generally. And like I said, I've had people like really resist this because it looks technical, but in particular, once you start using it, I think to read stuff, then you're like, oh, okay, see how this goes. So if you're watching this and thinking, okay, this sounds really technical, first of all, you probably already have an RSS feed on your website and you just don't know it.
If you use WordPress, you do.
And on a lot of other sites have them too. And and then the other thing too is just kind of try it. So think about like the websites that you follow, and rather than like hoping that you see it when they update it on Facebook or Instagram, or rather than you subscribing to 1,000 email newsletters, think about kind of having everything you want to read in one place, and then you start seeing some possibilities, I think, anyway. So that's how I got in. That's how I got in. It was a bit of a gateway drug as a reader, and then I started using it for my own purposes.
Reading gets you every time. I was lost in thought for a second, because there is a way in most of your major browsers, they will tell you if a site has an RSS feed.
Yes.
I forgot the process, but there, it's like over at the right hand side of the address bar. If you click there, it usually, I think it still tells you if that site has an RSS feed, and you can automatically add it to like the bookmarks.
Yeah.
They used to be a thing. I don't know if the millennials are into that anymore.
No, and I think so. There is a Google Chrome extension, which will also tell you if there's an RSS feed. Also, if you just put it into Feedly, like I said, before I think I showed you the screen where like my RSS feed had
Oh yeah,
pulled
you
up,
just
but
copy
I just typed in the URL and it just like looked for one. So there are, it will tell you if a website has one. There's a few different ways to find that out, including if your
some of
website
them
has
just
one. Yeah.
turn if a well-made website, Feedly in places like that. If it's a well-made website, you can just turn it into an RSS feed for you. They just kind of scrape it.
Yep.
So I think they do. I think Feedly does a little scraping in the background sometimes of certain sites.
Yep.
Um, there are sites that'll services you can pay for that'll turn a website into an RSS feed even if they don't offer one.
Yeah.
They basically scrape it and turn that into a feed. Um, yeah, the more you talk about it, more the little uses of
Yeah.
RSS.
Yeah. And I think the best thing, like I said, if you're watching this and you're like, okay, I'm sort of interested in what they're talking about, I kind of get why it's cool. Like I said, sign up for some kind of reader account, whether it's Feedly or
Sign
some
up
other
for
service, and add
free.
some sites to it that you follow, and kind of see how you feel about having all the stuff that's ready to be read together, and out of your email, or out of, or not having to click through all these websites while you're drinking your coffee in the morning. And then look into whether your site has an RSS feed. And if it doesn't, it's probably relatively easy to turn on. Or or there's somebody who's figured out how to do it. So like you can look up your particular web service and RSS feed, and I guarantee somebody has at least written an article about it, but maybe somebody has made a video of exactly how to do it. And
There's a plugin, usually a plugin.
yeah, and offer that as an option to people. And I think you'll be surprised. Like me looking this morning and seeing that 16 people were subscribed to my RSS feed just in Feedly, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You're getting famous.
I know, 16 people. Wow, watch out, world.
Hey, we all got to start somewhere. It's 16 good people. 16
Yeah.
people
Well, and
so
so
of everybody else.
yeah, and I know that I have like 100. So, and I've got 100 people who subscribe and get it. Like I basically have an RSS feed that pulls into an email template, and 100 something people get that. So when you offer people ways to like keep updated and don't give yourself a lot of extra admin work to be able to do that, it's really a beautiful thing. So, James, is there anything else about RSS feeds that you think people should really know about?
I don't know. I think we've covered most of it.
We have covered a lot of it. And yeah, and if you have any, and if you have any questions about topics, feel free to email me. I'll put the address on the screen here. You can also leave a comment wherever you're watching this video. And so, because we post here every single week, so check that out, and we're happy to address questions and concerns. And James, thanks for coming on again. I always enjoy your insights.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show again. I love it. It's always a good time. And great.
That was a good time. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week. And